So this is video number 2 or 3, depending on how I put them in order. Probably number 3 of my Harvesting Poppies playlist. And today we're going to make, I think we're going to make a tag that slides into a belly band. And we're going to use one of these images with the open poppy and the dragonfly. And it has a plain back. I'll call it a plain back because I'm going to glue this down. So there's no point in having a two-sided page. I might as well use a one-sided page for it. And the first thing I want to do is get rid of, I think I will get rid of the entire cream-colored border. Maybe just leave a sliver. I'm going to leave a sliver first and see how it looks, because I can always ink this edge too. Oh, and I got that dragonfly wing to worry about cutting off. And so I picked out some papers, obviously, cardstock to make a tag. And I have a little bit of an idea in my head, but nothing I could put into words just yet. So I'm wanting to use red, brown, and gold, maybe a touch of green for this. So I picked out these 3 bits of cardstock from my cardstock bins, which I think I showed you in episode 2 of this playlist. A little bit of how I organized some cardstock that I got from Shirley, a friend of my mom's and ours. So I picked these out for this particular project, and then I have this, which I think I also got from Shirley. It was some part of some craft kit to do with card making. It has this slit in it. Shirley, you may know what it is. If you're watching, comment and let me know what that's actually supposed to be. I'm going to use it as a belly band. And when my tag is done, I want it to slide in here. And then it'll be attached down to a book page. You can put something underneath it, plus you have a tag that will be removable from the front of it. So that's my plan. We'll see if we end up there. So I've cut off with my ripple scissors, which I love to use. And I think I like that better than this, so I'm going to go ahead with that idea, but I'm going to have to either cut off this sleeve or cut around it. I think I'm going to start by cutting around it. So this is fussy cutting, but not quite as fussy. And then I'll continue on, trying to get the same distance from the edge of the beige background as I did on the other side. And then I'll do the same thing down here, cutting around this little bud. Find a spot on the scissors that will grab that because it's so close to the edge. This is still the same morning that I deconstructed the book that I'm doing this, so it's still fresh in my mind. Okay, so there's that compared to the original. Instantly looks different. And then the color scheme with the dark brown came from a cottage that I saw where we used to have our trailer up in Cumbermere at Dale and Ed's. Dale, if you're watching. A friend of hers, or maybe not a friend, I'm not sure, a cottage along one of the roads that we walked on sometimes had dark brown and red was the color combination. There might have been some white on it too with the windows and stuff, but I was just struck by how good brown and red looked together. And when I saw this book and these images, I immediately thought I've got to do something with dark brown for this. So I thought I would try it today. So this is still a little long for the brown paper that I have on hand. If I had a full sheet of cardstock, it would not be any problem. And I suppose I could do something like this to get what I need. I'm going to angle the top edges anyway, but I don't want to do that. I had another idea that I was playing with as I was deconstructing the book, and that was to fold up and make a pocket. So that would shorten this a bit. I don't want to lose this though. That could maybe be the top edge of my pocket. Fold that fairly straight. And then I don't want to lose the dragonfly either. I can have him, see, that's not giving me a very deep pocket, but it's shortening the length of the tag just enough that it fits on there. And then I can tuck something in there. Maybe not something real big, but one thing that comes to mind now that I'm thinking about it, because it's so narrow, is I've seen people doing where they will deconstruct a pen like this and take the inside part and wrap it with paper so it's like a flat pen. Maybe I'll do some of those and include that in that little tuck if it's deep enough to hold it. Anyway, that's for another video. So I'm gonna grab my vintage photo. Actually, you know, I almost always ink everything, but I'm almost liking that pretty clean cream around there. I just wonder if I would like it as well once it was, I think, up against the brown. It doesn't need to be. This could be a little cleaner than normal. That's outside the box for me. And I don't want it to be just brown. I was thinking of adding some of this in, tucked in underneath and coming out. So I'm gonna rip that, keep it fairly narrow. It's so hard to rip into these embossed pages because I don't have an embosser, so I can't just make more. But that maybe will be on my July wish list when it comes out. And a lot of the Facebook groups that I'm in, there's a wish list every month where you can make 3 wishes. And anyone that has the stuff you're wishing for can share those items with you, and you can do that for somebody else as well. So I'm going to do something like that. And then this is for a future project with this poppy paper. Is I've got these cards, maybe from Shirley too, although I think I had some of these in my mom's stash as well, where they're a pre-made card kit and you punch out these squares. So I was going to have like a poppy peeping out from each square. That's what I was thinking there. But I've got this green punch out, so I thought maybe I could use this too to add just a touch of green. It might not be enough. I don't want to add another textured paper, but I could also add something like this, a really fresh green. And again, this was a card. I mean, I can make cards, but it's not really what I do. So I'm going to do a tear here. I don't want the white edge, so I'm going to tear it this way. And I can never remember which way that is supposed to be. This I might, decide to ink. So I want the gold in the foreground, I think, but I might put the green in the background behind that. Both of them tucked under so that they can keep their straight edges on one side. That I might want just a little wider. So let's do that again. A little bit wider. Looks like a boob. I don't want a boob on my card. Something like that, and then as long as this will fit in that slot, that'll be my width. So this slot measures 3 1/4 roughly. So 3 inches would be the widest I would want this so that it doesn't have any problem going in and out. So I can tuck that in a little further. I want this, I don't want that hanging off, or the other end hanging off. And I did say I was going to make a tag, so I want enough to do a little angled top on this. I want this hanging down, and I want this lower than that. So it's nothing's too lined up, you know. Okay, so I'm going to start with putting down the green, and I'm just, because I'll be able to see a pencil mark on this, I'm just going to make a pencil mark just in underneath there and just in underneath here, so I know roughly where I want to place this. When I pick it back up, I can see those marks. Not great, but I can see them. And I'm going to glue off to the side here on my white paper with my glue stick. And, because this is a little thicker than just paper, I'm putting quite a bit on. And I did not ink it yet. Do I want to? Yes, I do. Where's my dauber? There it is. So this is the vintage photo, and this might not show up well enough for me. I do have a darker one, and I definitely should have done this before I glued. I'm going to use the darker one. It's ground espresso. I use the vintage photo a lot more. And this isn't showing up a lot, but it's doing a good job of covering those little white bits. If I keep going over it, it'll shade it more and more, but I think that's good. Just doesn't look quite so clean. And I think that's still sticky enough based on how my fingers are sticking to it. So let me find that. Yeah, that's about where we were. So I do need to find my bone folder. I sometimes have it over where I watch TV, but I don't see it over there either. It's hidden on me a few times before. Anyway, we'll manage without it. Let's get this gluiness off my fingers for a quick second. I hope you don't mind. We're 12 minutes in and we haven't done much, but okay. So then I want this one. I want this as low as I can without sacrificing this hanging down. And I wanted that out further than this. And I do want to ink this piece as well. So I'm going to put a mark underneath this little square detail and a mark down here so I can see where I want it. And I'm going to ink it with the same ground espresso. That really gives it a nice richness. Covers all the whiteness on the edges where it's ripped. And I could just go over the top of those embossed details just lightly and give it even more richness. It's a kind of a metallic-y paper, not glossy, but kind of a matte metallic. I really like it. I don't know if this was out of Shirley's stuff or someone else, but Shirley would know maybe. I hope someday you'll watch this, Shirley. I know it's not your style. Not at all what you do. And I think that's good. It looks crooked, but I think once this is on there, it's going to be fine. Yep. So now the big question is, do I still want to leave that edge completely uninked? And I hate to ink it and then change my mind because then I'll have to start over. What I'll do is I will take this other one that is plainish. And I'll just do a little test here. Just to see, and I'm going to use the vintage photo so it's not quite as dark. I think if I, well, that's a bit wider, but I think if I do just the edge, I'll like it. Yeah, let's do that. I'll try to not do the whole, like cover all of the cream. I'll keep this very perpendicular to the paper so that I'm just getting the tips of those, what do you call it? Valleys and mountains, the ripples. Yeah. I mean, clean would have been good too, but I do like this. It's more my style. I'm just going to do these two. They don't need it, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I think that's a pretty seamless tuck. You don't really notice the disjointedness of the picture so much on this particular one. Sometimes you really would on different images, but that worked pretty well. Might try it in a different spot next time just to see. So I'm not going to glue that down. I'm just going to glue down these little sides here. Yeah, I do want to do that. So I'm going to take my little 3-in-1 glue and do the back side of this little tuck spot. Come on, glue. Get started. There we go. Try to keep this capped, and I'll burp it while I'm at it. Let some air in, because it's hard to come out there for some reason. I do have a love-hate relationship with those little bottles. And then this can be glued right down now because I've got my tuck there, unless I wanted to leave a tuck on this side, but I don't think so, because where it's going to be a tag or a bookmark, maybe with a pen. And then it's going to be in a belly band. So it's already got enough going on, if you know what I mean. So I'm just going to use my glue stick all over the back of that. I just undid my little pocket. Not set up yet. Make sure I get some of that little bit that's hanging out. And then I'll glue this down. I want just a little bit of the brown border, top and bottom there, here and here. And then that's where that can be. Could add a sentiment, but I might just wait and see what. I don't feel like rummaging through them right now. Although I've got some black and white ones here. My colorful pretty ones are probably the wrong vibe. If I had something about blooming or life is beautiful, believe in you, thankful for you, let your dreams take flight. That's maybe too big. I believe in you. Here's one that's already trimmed down without the white border. And I think what I'm going to do is just ink those letters so that they're ever so slightly not so white. Just with the vintage photo, not re-inking the pad, just using what's on it. Just so it's not so white. Stay. And then just run that with my thumb across the top of the glue stick. I know it doesn't help me keep my fingers from getting all gluey, but I'll put this over top of the gold and up onto the green, trying to keep it lined up with the poppy card piece. And I always put my wording facing the right, or like so that you can read it from the right, if that makes sense. If a page has an up and a down, which this does because of the pocket in my mind and the dragonfly and the way the flowers are going too. So I would always place it in this location. If I was going to put it horizontally, it might be right at the pocket or at the bottom, but I would never put it like up in the middle across. To me, that just looks like you're cutting it up way too much in my mind. So I'm very happy with the way that's looking. I just want to test these edges. They seem to be sticking down well. If they do start to lift, I will use some 3-in-1 to hold them down better. And now I'm going to grab my sliding cutter thingy. It's a scoreboard and a cutting board. And I'm going to cut it at 3 inches, like I said. Hopefully I've spaced things properly for that to work. I don't think I got that quite straight. So I'm just going to go at that again from this end. Get rid of that little angled bit. It wasn't quite up against the fence here. So that gets me to 3 inches that I know will fit through this slot. And even though this isn't metallic paper that it's going through, it's the same sort of tone as this gold paper. So I think that works well. And it gives it, I mean, it does cut it off here, which I'm not crazy about. Maybe what I would do is do it this way. And then I'm above my pocket and I can still see my words. That works better for me. And I still might do something to this back piece, like add some trim or something. I was looking before I started the video at some of these trims that I have handy in my little carousels. This one being one of them. So keeping it all sort of neutral and beige. I can either do across the belly band of the belly band, or I can do it up the sides of it. It'd be a pretty wide belly band, but still, in fact, a belly band. On both sides or one side. I haven't decided that yet, but that's sort of where my thought process is heading. We'll finish up this tag first. So I do want it to be a tag, but I also want to round those bottom corners. I'll just do them with the small round over, just so they're not pointy. When they're pointy, they tend to curl and get damaged and clipped. And this is still very squishy from the glue. Once it hardens up, this will be more firm. And then I want to clip these corners. So I don't have a punch for that. I do that either manually or if I have a pre-made tag from something, I could copy that, but I don't have one handy, so I'm just going to do it by eye. Pretty good eye for cutting angles. Not infallible, but I think I've got to do this side first because it's the one where I've got some limits, right? I can do a nice deep V over here, or deep angle over here, but then over here I'd be cutting off my main focal point, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to go fairly like steep. I don't want to do just a little 45. I want to do more like maybe a 30 degree, if that's right. And let that drop to the table and then flip it over and do the same on this side. And that's hard to see against that wooden background, but it doesn't look even, but where did my little triangles go? Are they the same? Maybe they're not. Nope, one is a bit taller than the other. So I got to take this taller one, which I think is this one. Exactly what I said I didn't want to do. How do I fix that? That came off of there. And I just didn't do my cut right over here. So I might have to, I think if I do this, this will fix it. I'm just on the corner of that focal point, but I think that's going to be better. So that one came off of there. And how does it fit over here now? A little better? A lot better. Still might not be perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than it was. And then I don't think just a single hole is going to cut it for this. I think I'd want a slot, which I don't have a slot punch, but I do have a hole punch that I can do 2 or 3 and then join them with my X-Acto knife. And then like a nice wide piece of red and black or red and brown ribbon or buffalo check or something natural is what I'm thinking, but I don't have that picked out yet. I don't have all my ribbons right handy with me. So let's just see. This measures about 1.5, so about 3/4 will be my center. Just there. So I'm going to do a hole in the center, and then I'm going to do one right beside it, just connecting with it, and on the other side, just connecting with it. And then I'll take a thick bunch of paper and my tag and my X-Acto knife and the ruler, I guess, and just cut off those little bits. And that's giving me a slot instead of 3 little holes that are connecting. I don't know why I felt like it needed that, but I did. So there we are. Now it has it. And most of that's going to be covered when I put the ribbon in anyway. It doesn't have to be a perfect little slot. It'd be nice to have a punch that did that, and someday I probably will have one, but right now I don't. So there we are. And then, so that's pretty much my tag. I should back it so that it can be written on at the back. A lot of people that don't know about junk journaling would probably just use it as a bookmark, which is fine. But I would intend to use this as a journaling spot as well. So I'm going to grab just a lightweight piece of coffee dyed paper. Maybe not too light, because of the beige tones on the front here. I can go a little darker. This one looks to be about the right tone. So what I would do there, I don't think that I need to cover the whole thing. I could cover it just sort of from the shoulder down in this case. So let me start by getting a torn edge. Why don't I just, I want to use this darker part. So I'm going to tear an edge as close to the edge as I can. And I'm going to follow these. This is a grid line from a baking sheet that I use when I coffee dye. I'm going to follow these lines so that my little add-on ends up straight, looking straight, because these grid lines are a little bit out of whack on the page. Let's see if we can get 1, 2, 3. We can't quite get 4. I can get 3, but that's, I can get 3.5 for sure. I'm gonna do the 4 and just see if I recut that. I should have cut that just inside the line. This is hard because you can't cut that small of an amount off. I would need to come over here and do it. Actually, if I do 3 and a bit, I think I said 3 and a bit would work, right? 1, 1, 2, 3 and a bit. Yeah, so if I do, I'll cut again, rip again, just to the left of this line of the coffee dyeing grid. And then I'll do another rip just to the right of this one. I'm just going to mark where I want to do it. I'm going to leave a little bit of the brown showing, if you can figure out what I'm doing there. One, 2, 3 and a bit. Yeah, I think I can center that up quite nicely. So I want to be about here. I want it to be about the same as what I've got over there. And I'm gonna attempt it with my left hand just to see if I can do it. I was doing some bookkeeping yesterday, and I was able to do the calculator with my left hand, which I haven't done for years. When I worked at Beaver Lumber, I was on the order desk with a bunch of guys, right? I was the only girl on the order desk most of the time. And we were always fighting for a calculator. And so you had to kind of use whichever one was closest to you. And sometimes you were already shoulder to shoulder with the guy beside you. So you had to, I learned how to use my left hand to run the calculator, even though I'm right-handed. And I wouldn't call myself ambidextrous, like really, I wouldn't. But that was something I kind of had to learn how to do, or else I wasn't going to be able to do my work. So I did. And then the other thing that I have been able to teach myself to do in that same sort of thing is when they, at the same store, when they sent me over to the kitchen department to learn how to design kitchens. This is going back to when I was in my early 20s, 30 some years ago. Shoot. The computer that was over there, and I didn't have hardly any experience with computers at that time, but the computer that was over in the kitchen department, the guy before me that had left was left-handed. So he had the mouse set up on the left side of the desk. Well, I didn't know any different, so I taught myself how to use my mouse left-handed. And it was years before I realized that I didn't have to do that. I could use my right hand, and it was hard to train myself to do it with my right hand after learning to use a mouse with my left hand. Strange, strange, strange. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the back side of that. I mean, this could also be like a notepad. There's so many variations, and that's why we're doing this as a video series, a playlist, so that you can see all the ways that I do this. Now I'm just trying to get my border before I glue this right down. I'm trying to get the bottom border about the same at the bottom and each side. I think my bottom is a little fatter, so I'm going to go down just a touch. And then trying to line up at least one side straight, and then the other side should follow. Got a bit of a wrinkle there. So let's lift that and see if we can get rid of it without our bone folder. Now that's got a little bit of a wonky edge at the top, so I might want to cover that up. And what have I got that I can use to do that? Something that relates back to the front side. So maybe a little bit of that gold paper again. That's just not glued. So just a little sliver. What did I have from my little offcuts? I think those are too small. But I can create another one. I can do like this. It's getting to be wide enough. I just love using every little bit of this paper that I can. I'm going to ink that again. Cut that, tear that end off. I'm going to make my blue nails be kind of a different color blue by the end of the day, doing all this inking. And then I'll just glue that above there, and then that'll hide that wonky edge. Still don't have a torn edge at the bottom. I should have thought of that, but I'm happy with this. And I'm not even gonna use the glue stick. I'm just gonna use this because I think this is gonna tend to curl up on me. Actually, the glue stick probably would help, but this stuff is awesome. Gotta lift my glasses up to do this. And I need my tweezers. I gotta train myself to use the darn things. Keep my hands from needing to be de-glued so often. Not that I mind getting gluey and dirty, it's just that it makes for messy projects if you're getting glue all over things with your fingers. Kind of wish that 3-in-1 glue was slightly colored so that you could see it when you're putting it on, and then dried clear would be ideal. I know the technology exists. And then the other thing that I could do on the back side here is take a little snippet. I did some little experimenting when I was thinking about the idea with this card with the cutouts in it, of punching out little bits. So I could do that down in the corner, for instance, like that. And then again, that relates back to the front side of the page. I've got this one too. These were all little, I discovered that these were too small, but I still might be able to use them, back them onto something else and then use them. This is a punch that I have. And the punch itself, of course, is bigger. It shows you on the front, on the top, how big the cutout is. But you still, because the punch is so big, you just imagine in your head that it's a bigger square that you're going to get. But I did use this to cut those out. And I got to find other sizes of that because I love that, being able to cut something, you know, it's got a jagged edge, but it's square without spending the time to cut it out. But what I was looking for was a bit of leaf. And I do have some little leaf bits. So I've got this little circle that I punched out of a leaf. And I've got this bigger one. This would actually look good up here, like this. And then maybe that's maybe too square, but maybe I could use my jagged edge scissors around this bloom and make that work. I could even attach it together like that. Now this I just fussy tore, if that's the right term. I tore it instead of cutting it. So it needs to be inked. I use the dark ground espresso. Yeah. To give it a nice dark edge. Cover up the white, but also give it a really good dark edge. So it'll show up against the beige. So I like that for the corner. And then I'm not crazy about the square with it, so I'm gonna do this. So let's just fussy tear this. And I'll just tear right side coming towards me so that it doesn't have so much white. And you can see that the left side going away from me has the white edge. And I do want to save these leaves, so I'm gonna go this way. I might be able to get down in there and tear some more of that out. I might need the tweezers help. This is not as easy as it would be to do with scissors, but I just feel like I want that torn look for some reason. Here, instead of trying to tear that close, I'm going to just use this for a couple of centimeters here and then switch to tearing again. And then go up in here and around. And again, I'm just going to finish this off because it's so close with that. It would have been just as easy to do that with the scissors, honestly. But, you know, whatever. You figure these things out once you do them. And I will just try to tear coming down here. Maybe get that little bit out of there. Yep. It worked. So that's working for me. I like. And then I'll use my glue stick on the back of these leaves. And I think I'll try it with just that. And then once it's laid under the weights for a couple hours and gotten completely dry, if there's any edges, I'll glue them down. I find this glue is pretty good. Not perfect, but it's pretty good. And I think I'm gonna, because this stem is about the same thickness there, I'm gonna line that up and have it like that. It's not the way it was originally in the original picture, but if the person didn't know that, they would never know. And just overlap it ever so slightly. Just push that down so that glue gets, it's already smushed all around, but there. So I'm really happy with that. I believe in you. And a little bit of green. And then I don't like this pointiness here. Now, this being an odd angle, I can't use a punch for that, but I can just take these and just nip that little point off without really trying to round it per se, just not so square. And then we've got a place to write on the back. And then ribbon. Let's just see if I do have anything in here. I think most of the reds that I have in here are too bright. That one maybe not too bad, but it's still, I would like something a little more towards the brownish red, I think. I do have raffia. And I also have this, but that's too wide. And I've got some jute twine, which could work. And green could work too. I don't have anything really good in green. I think I'll go with this for now. If I find anything better later, I'll let you know. So this is just a bunch of twine that came with a package of tags, I believe. I'm going to cut off, I'm going to make it like a real tassel-y topper. So I'm going to use a bunch of this because frankly, I have enough twine to go around the world twice, I think. So I'm going to use this whole piece, which is, let's see here, it's 1.5 yards, using Mama's measuring method of tip of my nose to my arm extended out the opposite direction. I don't know if any of you know how to do that. Almost exactly a yard. And I'm going to double it up again. And then I'm going to use that as my topper and put that through the slot. And I do regret that I don't have anything to reinforce this with. I should have reinforced it and then cut it, but I didn't, so here we are. Just that when you pull on this to tighten it, sometimes it'll tear right through. So I'm going to hold that, very gently tighten this up. And then what I may do is just stick some tacky glue in underneath it so that it doesn't go loosening. Because once it loosens, if someone tries to retighten it, they're probably going to rip it. So if I can just prevent it from loosening, with some tacky glue underneath there. I'll do it on, no, I won't do it on the back side, will I? Because there's nothing to do on the back side. Do it on the front. Just stick some right in underneath there. And then push that front stuff down into it. Hold it for a minute so that that stays pleasantly arced around there. While I'm holding that, I can be snipping these because I don't want those loops. I want them as a tassel. And that might benefit from like the little hair straightening iron that I use. Might be good to straighten that out. But I'm very happy with this little tag. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Let me know in the comments if you think I did good. If there was something that you were screaming at me that you think I should change, let me know. I won't take offense. I'll just maybe try it. So let's see how we do with getting it looking good in here. We wanted to do it this direction. Now I could put something else on the belly band for decoration when this isn't in there, because obviously it's removable and that pocket might be an issue getting it in and out. I've just seen that. So what would I want to put on here to make it pretty when it's not being holding that? I have this, which kind of has the right vibe. It's too wide, but I was thinking maybe using half of it. I could use another one of the Poppy images because it's probably going to go in a journal that already has these images in it. If I put the image over too far, then you're going to see it. Like if this is in here, do I want something that sticks out past it? Not really. I want it up against all beige, I think. So maybe just some writing space in the middle. Some more of the coffee dyed maybe. Although, will that look the best there? What to do, what to do. I've got this gold lace too, but I think it's the wrong tone of gold. This is getting a greeny look to it because of the antiquing. And that other stuff that I had has already got that greenish look. But again, I mean, if I just do that, I could do that sort of top and bottom. And one right through the middle. Keep it really kind of tailored, if you know what I mean. The other thing I could do was take some more of this brown. Or I've got this edging too, which is off of the calendar page. It's not the same green, but it's not far off. It doesn't clash or anything. So I could do something like that to decorate the edge of this up. Like that. And then maybe the gold right beside it even would be pretty. Let's do that just because we can. So as long as I have enough to glue, I need 2 pieces. That one has gold. Oh, these ones, yeah, some of them have gold. I've got a bunch of different variations of this. I definitely want it to be green. But you see how this one has this beige edge behind it? I don't think, as much as I would like that, if I had 2 of those, I would do that. But I don't think I do. The other ones that I have are cream colored, but I would be hiding most of the green. So I think I want the green ones. I'm going to use those too. And I can cut this off. I don't need all of this bulk. And this is going to be a belly band, so it's going to be glued down to the page. So I don't need to worry about how perfect this cut is. It's going to be in behind it. I'm not going to have the green on top because this one has some gnarly edges. So then that becomes just a strip that may or may not be usable to me. I don't know yet. But I'm going to put this, even though this belly band is already pretty wide, I'm going to put this like in front of, like that. So I'm going to glue along the strip here with the 3-in-1, I think. I could use tacky, but I might get too much glue on it. I'm just going to take my little needle and just see if that helps that tip a little bit. I've been leaving it open today a lot, which I don't usually do, because this stuff dries so fast. Oh, I just hate that I can't see this stuff. So I'm doing this, filming this at the end of June. I'm thinking I might save it and release it closer to November for Remembrance Day, where we use a lot of poppies. I know poppies do bloom in the summer, but I've got videos for the summer. And November, I might be real busy with other things, like getting ready for Christmas and the holidays, and just busy with kitchens, hopefully. It's usually a busy time with Christmas rush. People want their kitchen redone before the holidays every year. Never fails. And then I'm just going to place this on, see if there's a good side, bad side. They're both about the same. Place that on there. I think that's pretty even. I don't have long to move it, so I gotta decide. Easier to leave this long and cut it off after. And then that's the same color green. It's a little brighter actually, but that one's better, but it's missing a little bit. I think I have more of this somewhere, but I have not mastered the stopping and starting a video, so I'm just going to go. I'll go ahead. Let's start at the top here and we'll waste less. Not that this matters. This was cut out of a calendar at the very beginning of my junk journal journey. I harvested a calendar, and this was part of the harvesting. And I had just gotten this punch, so I was using it on everything I could find that I thought it would look cool in. And I don't use a lot of green. But when you start working with botanicals, you're going to use green, right? So I did have it punched out, so here we are using it. And that's why I always do those videos of harvesting my yard sale finds and my estate sale finds and so on. Like, what do you do with this stuff? People always want to know, right? So one way to ensure that you're going to use it instead of just putting it on a shelf in your craft room is to go ahead and harvest it so that you've got bits and pieces instead of something that still looks like it's like too good to cut up. So I had that problem with this beautiful atlas that I bought. I got it half price at the Mission Thrift, or 70% off, I think, at the Mission Thrift. And so it only cost me about $6, and it's probably a book that's worth over $100. Like, just a guess, but it's a very nice map book, map atlas of the world, and it's older. I think it was, I can't remember the year, but it was like before 1950, so it's older. And I hesitated to cut into it for the longest time, but then I thought the reason I bought it was for the pretty maps, so use it, girl. So I started ripping pages out, and then once you do that, like there's no going back, right? You have to continue and do that and use it. So same thing. So I've got a few videos of harvesting things, and the beginning of this playlist is one of them, where I started into the address book that this came out of, and it was sitting on my desk for weeks, and I wanted to cut into it, but it was so pretty I didn't want to cut into it. So finally I did, and I'm glad I did, because I've started to make projects with it now, and I'm enjoying it more because I'm seeing these things used. I was never going to use it as an address book, that's for sure. So that's what the back of it looks like, but this is going to be glued down, so you won't see that. And now I'm just pondering whether I have room and or want to put this. And I think I do, because that way when the belly band is empty, it doesn't look so plain. And see what I mean by that pocket? It catches there. That pocket might not have been a great idea. I might have to glue it down, because if it's going to be a problem every time it comes in and out, and I have that upside down again. So I think I'll do this and have that lace overlapping the green, like that lacy frilly edge against something that you can see it. Have this eyelashy looking little edging overlapping the little arched edging, so that you don't see green through it there, which wouldn't be bad either. That wouldn't be bad either, but I got to be careful that I don't come in so far that I can't get my tag in and out too. So if I put my tag back in there while I apply this, kind of centered, then I'm going to make sure that I don't glue it. See, I want to be able to get this tag in and out, so I don't want to glue too close to the edge here. I'm going to glue it mostly on the right side of this side. And again, I'm going to, well, I could cut this to length ahead of time. It's not going to stretch. I'll just overcut it just a bit, just so I'm not dealing with the whole roll. Oh, and this is, I don't know that I've shown this yet, whale tail tab made out of a Duncan Hines box that I used to wrap my ribbons around. So I took almost all of the ribbons that I have. I haven't done them all yet, but most of them. I had a great big huge Rubbermaid tote full of ribbons on spools that I got condensed into a much more manageable sized box by doing this and getting rid of the spools. Now I just threw out the spools from that project like yesterday, but I have seen some little craft ideas for using spools. So with the ones that I still have and any future ones that I get, you may see some ribbon spool projects from me. One was a Christmas ornament that looks sort of like a little drum or a little hat, both of them, both ideas. And I'm sure if I go on Pinterest, I'll find even more ideas. But it was just a matter of, this is garbage, or in my case, recycling. I did recycle them because they're all cardboard. How long am I going to keep it before I use it, right? And even though it's almost July and I could have done a Christmas with July video and made a little drums as Christmas tree ornaments, my mind really isn't there yet. So I know I've got to get at doing some Christmassy stuff, but I just wasn't ready to do it. So I thought, I'm not going to save these in my craft room like I do everything else when I can get more. And I got to start thinking that way. If I can get more of the thing, then I'm not going to save every single one that comes across my path. I watched, in addition to all the craft videos I watched during the pandemic, I did also watch a lot of organizing videos to try to teach myself some tactics to talk myself out of collecting so much stuff. And I have learned a few things. I'm still thrifting and buying stuff, but I'm trying not to save every little thing. Like I mentioned in a Facebook group post the other day that someone said something about organizing their craft room, and I said, I try to organize for an hour or so every day before I craft, but it doesn't always happen. And here I'm just sort of straightening out this ribbon because it was on that little spool. See how flat it looks. If it's bad enough, I'll get my little iron out, but I don't think I need to. So, what was I saying? Jeez. Yeah, so organizing my craft room before I craft doesn't always happen. But I have been trying to do that a little bit at a time. And one of the times that I organized my craft room, I came across a whole bunch, like I would say 100 little vials, plastic vials with stopper or a screw-on cap that seed beads came in, because I was an avid beader for years and years and years, and I still have a ton of beads and all the stuff to do jewelry. Not saying that I'm never going to do it, but this is just my thing right now. So anyway, all these vials were cloudy and scratched, and the caps were cracked and didn't screw on right. So if you put something in them, it was just going to spill out on you anyway. So I tossed them all. I just said, if I ever need vials for something, I can order them on Temu, or I can find them in another craft store, or I can empty some of my other bead vials. So I got rid of them. And then the other day when I was in there doing my little tidy up before I craft session, like you always want to tidy after you craft, but for me, I'm just to try to get my craft room organized. I'm trying to do a little bit each day before I start to craft, and then crafting is my reward. But anyway, I came across all these, I would say they're maybe like 10 by 13 inch margarine tubs that you bought. They still are available in the stores, but I buy butter now. But I used to buy margarine in these large containers, and then I would portion it off into smaller containers and keep most of it in the freezer. And so I had probably a dozen of these tubs. And I've been looking, and had them tucked away in my cupboard where I really couldn't see them. One other time that I crafted, I did that, or that I cleaned up and organized. I tucked them away. And I've been trying to organize my junk journaling stuff and finding that I couldn't find the right size containers. And then I came across these, and I could be using those. So I pulled them out. It was a stack of about maybe 10 of them. And they had the lids and everything. I had actually more lids than containers, which is unusual. Usually it's the other way around. But I think those containers get used for other things, and then... See, that pocket is driving me. Those containers get used for other things that don't need a lid, and then the lid is sitting there not being used. So I started to match them up with the lids. Well, be darned if the lids were too brittle to be put back on, and then they would break. So I had all these splintered lids, which was really annoying me. Nothing I could do about it. And so I threw the lids away. I just threw them away. And I kept the bins because they nest inside of each other. So they're great for like all the bits and pieces of paper that you're putting together to do a project, or the bits and pieces of leftovers when you're done a project, and then you can stack them up one on top of another and even put labels on them. You can still see a little bit of each one. If I think I will show you that in an organizing video. But I kept the bins because they're not going to break, just putting things in and out of them. But I always have a little tray or bin of some sort with something to fussy cut, or something I just fussy cutted or cut or whatever. So I'll use them that way, and I don't need the lids. I mean, the lids would have been nice because then I could stack them right up and put them in my shelves, but they can nest. As long as I don't need to fill them right up, I can nest them. I'm going to glue this pocket closed because it's catching every single time. And I know I could just use a different tag, but I want to finish this project and it be done. So hopefully this will keep it down well enough that it's not going to catch. And I'm sad that I'm losing my little pocket, but my life will go on. Get it off of the brown before it wrecks it. The pocket that could have been. So I'm really happy with this. Now the bottom and the top is going to be glued down in a page, and then may or may not be edged the same way that the page is at the time, so I'm just going to leave that for now. But yeah, I'm happy with this project. What do you guys think of it? Let me know in the comments whether you think I made the right decisions on these decorating choices. And I love that I figured out a way to use this beige back piece as a belly band and make it interactional. I may still have to switch to a different tag. Maybe when that is completely flat, it'll work better. I'll put it under something heavy overnight and maybe it'll flatten out enough. Something really heavy to squeeze down on that. But yeah, thank you for watching today. I hope you'll like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.